Greetings, this is the Grumpy Old Slan, and today we're going to take a look at Starships and Spacemen, Missions in the Final Frontier, a science fiction role-playing game by Fantasy Games Unlimited. This was published in 1978. We have a quick editorial introduction. Table of contents. The actual introduction, explaining what a role-playing game is, the idea of the science fiction setting, how role-playing works, what they call the science fiction rationale, which is actually just the world building of the universe that the game is set in. We're looking at development of the hyperdrive in the 22nd century. Humanity meets other intelligent races, some become allies, some become enemies. What you need, equipment needed for play, and this is not the character's equipment, but it is what you need to play. So the dice, some paper, obviously these rules. How to generate a character. Characters in this game have 8 abilities. Their marksmanship, intelligence, technical skill, contact skill, charisma, strength, psionic potential, and loyalty. Now the last 4 are what they call inborn, so you roll them, that's it, they will not change, whereas the others are what they call acquired abilities, and those can be improved by experience. So in order to determine the score for each ability, you roll 3d6. And here they suggest 3 different methods to do this. So the first one is they call totally random, which we usually call 3d6 in order. So you roll 3d6 and that determines your stat in the order that they're listed. The method 2, which I've never seen elsewhere before, is what they call assignment after each roll. So you roll a 3d6, and then whatever it is, you choose what ability it goes to, and then that's locked in. Then you roll 3d6 again, and then you choose what your ability is. Let's say I rolled a 15 and I want a character that's got very high intelligence. Well, maybe I'll put it on intelligence, but then my next roll could be a 17, in which case I'd be like, no. And then the third method they recommend is roll 3d6 and put the results in whatever abilities you want once you've finished all the rolls. They say, however, there's no element of risk in this method, and they don't recommend it as much as method number 2, which they seem to favor. There are 4 races you can play: Terrans, Taurans, Taurans, Andromedans, and Regal. So the Taurans are superlogical computer-like aliens, Andromedans are shy, sensitive psionics, and Regal are highly skilled mercenaries. Here they go through a more detailed explanation of the various abilities, including the racial variations. So depending on what kind of character you play, what the race is, you may get a bonus or a penalty on certain things. Your psionic score will allow you to choose various abilities based on your score. So basically, if I have a score, a psionic score of 13, well, I could choose telepathy and teleempathy because 6 plus 7 is 13. But I couldn't choose molecular control, which requires a 20. They actually state this cannot be chosen by player characters due to prohibitive costs. And same with teleenergesis, whatever that is. I'm not even sure how to pronounce it. They also mention which branch and subclasses of space fleet the scores may be prerequisites for. So there are 3 branches: the military branch, the scientific branch, and the technical branch. And there are subclasses in each one. So under military, you could be command, security, or fire control, which is about controlling the ship-to-ship offensive weaponry, essentially. The scientific branch, you could be the alien life subclass, which is actually what we would call a xenobiologist today. I don't know if that term existed back in 78, but there we go. You can also be a medical subclass, which helps with healing of other characters or yourself. The technical branch, you could be communications, navigation, engineering. They do suggest you have to have at least one of the three branches in each ship. And considering these are, these are ships of the space fleet, it would make sense that the command structure assigns like a well-balanced crew with all the needed skills to run the ship properly. Next is a section on NPCs. Everything from general things, names, some particularities of the various species. Experience and rankings. Like a lot of games, you can gain experience points, and for each promotion you can add one to any one of your acquired skills. You can also draw more equipment as you go up in rank, and you may also requisition better ships. Now this is your title. So you start as an ensign, so like player characters are on the officer track, clearly. You get some bonuses, what they call +1 to acquiring of equipment. And these are the ships you can command. So at first you can only command a destroyer. Eventually you can do a cruiser, battle cruiser, or dreadnought. And there's some limitations. So only characters of the command subclass can advance beyond the rank of Vice Admiral, which kind of makes sense. Alien life medical engineering officers can advance to the rank of Vice Admiral but not beyond, and all other subclasses may advance only to the rank of Commodore. The races, so they go through the different races that player characters can be, describe what they look like, what their abilities are, like what the ability modifiers are, what's special about them. Equipment. You get some units to acquire equipment, and it's basically equal to your level +1. So when you start, you get 2 units for equipment. A half unit will get you equipment like a radiation suit, a jetpack, a universal translator, a communicator. If you have 1 unit, you can spend it on a hand laser, spring rifle, electro stun gun, auto analyzer. Of course, some of the equipment is also limited for your branch and your subclass. So the auto analyzer is only for people in the scientific branch. Medikit also only for people in the scientific branch. If you have 2 units, you can get laser rifles or energy screens or a force field generator. 3 units gets you more powerful stuff. 4 units, you can get like field armor or matter antimatter generators. Spaceships, so they go through the capabilities of the spaceships. There's a little sketch of one. Maybe not the fanciest art, but I've sure produced similar art during games myself, so we're not going to criticize too much. But it does give you the basic idea of the ship, the hyperdrive pod. There's a coupler here, the saucer section. Clearly inspired by Star Trek. You can see the coupler here. This is the saucer. There's the engine room, some storage, hydroponics, the weapons area, laser banks, iron torpedoes, the mess hall, living quarters in here, and in the center is the bridge with like research lab, sick bay, conference room, teleporter. Ships can move either with the interstellar drive or within a system with the nuclear drive. So the speed will depend on which type of drive they are using. Offensive weapons, defensive screens. There's usually a planetary transport, so a shuttle ship could also use a teleporter to bring people down to the planet. There are tractor and pressor beams. They describe the different sections, so like the sick bay and the computer. And they give you examples of the types of questions a computer can answer. So for example, players are circling a planet they know is medium gravity, temperate climate, breathable atmosphere, but radiation contaminated. Science officer gets online and gets 4 questions. Is there any life on the planet? Yes. Is there any humanoid life on the planet? Yes. Are there any Zangids or Videni? No. Those are the enemy aliens. Is there non-human humanoid animal life as well? Yes. Basically, yes, no. We've seen Star Trek. We know what the computer is like. Ship statistics for the different types of ships. The energy systems. The energy cost for different things. If you want to travel 5 EUs, not sure what EU is here, per warp. Oh, energy units per warp factor on hyperdrive. Screen for a destroyer will use 15 energy units per day. For half screens, 30 energy units per day. Enemy ships, so they go through the various enemy ships here. Ship-to-ship combat. They do stress that it's not primarily a space combat between ship type game, but they include it because this may come around. It's about 3.5, 4 pages for the ship-to-ship combat. Here's the section for setting up the galaxy. So basically setting up your campaign world. The time scales, which will depend on what you are doing. So for example, if you're doing interstellar traveling, 1 turn is 1 full day. If you travel within a star system, a turn is 1 hour. If you're exploring a planet, a turn is an hour, but then in combat, it'll speed up again. You have hazards in space. There are clouds, so gas clouds, dust clouds, what they call crystal clouds, which affect psionics, and foamy clouds, which affect intelligent creatures negative way. It also affects machinery, so like the ship's computers will invariably lie regardless of what questions they're asked. Another hazard is radiation storms. Space mirror, which is basically as you travel towards it, the ship gets reflected into another direction depending on the orientation of the mirror. The space warp is another area. It's an area where space is folded upon itself. The time warp is similar to the space warp, except time is folded. There's a space amoeba. It's a gigantic spacefaring creature that looks like an enormous blob of jelly. It's a one-celled creature and is not intelligent. I really get vibes from an old Star Trek episode here. They give you the grid of an amoeba, which shows you how enormous it is. Space Boy is a device to test the humanity and morality of the players. It will place them in a difficult moral situation where their impulses will contradict their humanitarian motives. So again, we're getting vibes from old Star Trek episodes. If the players pass the test by responding humanely, if they act aggressively and stuff, then the game master should unleash the real power of the boy, which will be whatever's behind it, like master of molecular control. It's able to change the nature of matter through thought control. And we're really getting Star Trek vibes here. Galactic random encounters. So as you're traveling through space, what will you encounter? So star systems, clouds, starships, miscellaneous hazards. If it's a star system, 1 planet half the time, multiple planets or no planets. The cloud matrix could be gas cloud, dust cloud, crystal or foamy cloud. The starship matrix, you could be a friendly freighter or starship, an enemy freighter or an enemy starship. You also have the miscellaneous hazards, which are like the radiation storms, time warp, space warp, all that stuff. Instructions on how to set up a star system. They give you here the distance is measured in units of time it takes to travel from one planet to the next. They give you the example for our solar system, how many millions of kilometers and how long it takes to travel. They also give you the 4 things you have to consider when creating a planet. So it's gravity, temperature, atmosphere, and a radiation level, which could be natural or like the aftermath of a nuclear holocaust or something like that. Time travel, suggestion you might want to have some time travel going on. Diseases that could affect the players. Things like psionic fever and space malaria. Star bases, they're basically your home base. Once you get back to a star base, your field promotions are made official. Essentially, any experience you gain, now your rank is officially that. You can acquire new equipment, replace damaged equipment. You can heal from personal damage. You can refuel your spaceship. You can maybe get a new spaceship, a better one, if you've been promoted. If you have picked up any artifacts, they'll be requisitioned by Starfleet HQ for further study. And you can then maybe give information to the players about what they've found, or, maybe since the last time you were here, we've discovered XYZ about the artifact you brought back last time. Starbases also allow you to have shore leave with R and R. One of the interesting things about this is you have what they call different halls. There's a hall of marksmanship. You basically roll for your marksmanship score, and if you hit a target 3 times, you get to add 1 to your marksmanship. So that's one way to improve on top of the improvement you get for your when you go up a level. Alien encounters, some general comments. Psionics and miscellaneous aliens, planetary random encounter matrices. So if you have humanoids, animals, plants, machines, psionics. If it's an animal, you can have mammals. There's a table for that. Flyers, water creatures, insects, reptiles. So a lot of it is creatures we're used to, or I guess there'll be analogs of that. A shark-like creature will pretty much look like a shark because of convergent evolution. However, things like there are some giant creatures. There's some interest, like there's space moths, there's giant scorpions, psionic butterflies. There's also some dinosaurs under reptiles, and bizarrely enough, a giant crabs. I did not know crabs were reptiles. This is news to me. Humanoids, they go through various species of aliens you can encounter. So there's the 2 main alien enemies. Then there's what they Aquamen or Atlanteans, which are water-breathing humanoids. Some cavemen, just very Stone Age level of culture. Ancient/medieval men. So yeah, Bronze Iron Age level stuff. Early modern men, so gunpowder area all the way up to our level of technology. Late modern men, which is our level of technology, more advanced. Future men, so those would be civilizations at the same level as the characters, the characters come from. You can also encounter animals, so they go through the different animals. Some, of course, we know them, but some are like psionic parrots, prognosticating owls. Yeah, they're kind of made up, and so they describe the space moths and the other such things. Well, they do acknowledge here that giant crabs are not exactly reptiles. They fit here better than elsewhere, found in swampy and sandy environments. Crabs conceal themselves until the moment of attack. Plants, so again you have some fantasy plants like projectile cacti, mirage palms, tentacle ferns, armored puffballs. Machines, so you can encounter robots, androids, or cyborgs. Psionics, aliens with psionic powers. Miscellaneous creatures, so these are things that don't fit in anything. They mention flame creatures, ice creatures, crystal creatures, the kind of planet they're found in. Alien artifacts, the kind of artifacts you could find. Rules for combat: range combat, close combat. The Star Master, which is the game master in this game. The Star Master is a multitude of roles and functions in the game. These can be divided into 2 broad categories: preparation, done before the game, and refereeing, done during the game. Maybe this section should have been earlier in the book. Experience points. The reward for successful action is promotion. For the military branch, points are awarded for successful combat situations. The command subclass will also get points for successfully completing a mission. The fire control subclass will be awarded experience for enemy ships defeated in combat. The scientific branch will get experience for encountering and studying alien forms of life, but they don't get any for combat success. The medical subclass, they will get some for diseases that they characterize and control, And I would imagine for anything they do that to heal people that requires more than just standard stuff. You probably wouldn't get experience for fixing a broken arm since this is a well-known procedure. The technical branch may get some points for combat, but they also receive points for successfully navigating through space. So what's interesting about this experience system is that the different branches have different priorities. So that will encourage the players to push for their priorities when deciding what to do in a given situation. The player with the military branch may want to dispatch the aliens, while the one in the scientific branch may want to study it. Finally, inspirations and sources. They flat out say that after playing D&D one night, they thought it'd be fun to have a game inspired by Star Trek, and that while they can't use Star Trek characters and stuff because of copyright, and I guess the license would have cost too much for a fledgling games company, they certainly acknowledge the influence. They also mention some books, Frank Herbert's Dune. They actually say also what these books provided. So the Dune books provided the monsters of the Sand Dragon with its prescient venom. Gordon Dixon's Dorsai provided the genetic mercenaries, the Regal, and the Spring Rifles and religious fanatics, the Videni. Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers for the infantry and powered armored suits. Various science fiction movies such as Westworld for the androids. Other TV shows such as Bionic Man, again for cyborgs. Carrie, The Exorcist, The Omen also influenced the idea of psionics. Star Wars, the space carriers with the detachable craft. And of course, Star Trek. The book ends with a sample mission. And a little advert for other titles by Fantasy Games. This was a look at Starships and Spacemen. This has been the Grumpy Old Slan, and I'll see you next time.